Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I've got a fun one. Basically, unless you've been living under a rock, you probably well know about two of the main digital representations of amplifiers and effects, one being amp modeling, which has been around for a really, really long time, a few decades now. And the kind of the newer kid on the block is a profiling or capture type technology. I'll explain a little more what that is, but specifically what I'm going to be looking at today is comparing. I'm going to use Helix native to kind of compare the amp modeling side of things and ToneX from IK Multimedia to compare the capture side of things. Talk about the differences and the pluses and minuses. And if you don't already have one or multiple of these types of products and they're looking for a way to, kind of see which one might work for you, if not get both, but which one might work for you. Hopefully that's what this video is gonna help talk about for you. And I'll have links in the description below for any of this stuff if you want to find out some more information. So let's just hop right into this thing and see what we get. Okay, so here I am in Ableton in my DAW. I've got the guitar just plugged straight into the audio interface, and I have an instance of the IK Multimedia ToneX plugin and then the Line 6 Helix native plugin. I've got two fairly similar amp models and or capture pulled up, but there's no two that are going to sound identical. So this I'm going to play a little bit, let you hear the differences, but trying to get two things like this to sound identical is just it's a big waste of time. It's a big time waster. So what I want to do first of all is I'll let you hear each one real quick, but mainly I want to talk about the differences, what the pros and cons of each one might be, and which one might suit your needs. So anyway, first up, we're going to hear a little bit of let's do the ToneX first. So this is a Fender 57 Custom Deluxe. All right, now let's hear something similar on Helix. This is use the Fullerton Jump. All right, so there's a little taste of each one. Again, I'm not trying to dial these in to sound identical to each other, so which one sounds better, conversations in the comments, have at it, but that's not the purpose of this video. What I want to talk about is the different approaches of technologies that are being used here and the pros and cons for each. So with the ToneX, it is a newish, Kemper kind of did the whole profiling thing starting back, I think, in 2012-ish, give or take. Amp modeling goes back a bit farther. Line 6 has been doing it since the late 90s. So when a capture type device, the way it does is you use a microphone in front of a cabinet, so you get a capture of an amp with a particular, whatever the amp controls are set at, whatever the cabinet is, whatever cabinet you're using, whatever microphone you're using. All these things go into creating what I would consider like a snapshot of that amp in that moment with those settings. So if you've got an amp and it's set up for clean, you capture it. If you want to make that sound distortion, you need to do another capture with the amp set up to sound distorted with higher gain. You can't take a clean capture and turn it into that amp's distorted character. It's not the way it works. There are some parameters available, like I boosted the treble just a notch on this, but this really works as if you're coming from a studio environment, it'd be considered an outboard EQ, meaning, or if an EQ pedal, maybe if you're thinking about it in terms of real world amplifier type stuff. But this does not respond like the tone stack of the actual amplifier. So once the amp is captured, it is what it is. There is no real tweaking to be done. Right now, the cabinet is one that was captured with it. You can do IR stuff with ToneX. I mean, IR is if you're brand new to this stuff, and IR is basically it's an impulse response. It's a way to capture the sound of a cabinet. So you can change the cabinet sound a bit, but it kind of is what it is. ToneX, you can have reverb, noise gate, compression. Again, the kind of the EQ stuff, but it kind of just is what it is. So there's no real tweaking to be done, which a lot of people like. The downside is the amp is what it is. You can't take one capture of, in this case, of custom deluxe, and use one capture to sound like the amp with the gain turned down and to sound like the amp with the gain turned up. You will need multiple captures for that, and there are quite a few that come with ToneX 1174 to be specific. So basically you would need multiple captures if you're wanting to get multiple styles of tone from a particular amp model. Is I'm going to use the word model, but I don't want that to be confused with amp modeling. So that's just kind of a brief overview of what the capture stuff does. So moving over to Helix. Helix is a more traditional amp modeling platform in the vein of like, Helix or Fractal Axe Effects, things like that. And what that consists of is they have basically modeled every component of the amplifier or effects pedals, or anything else that is being done. They have modeled every component. So in this case, with this Fender amp, every control will respond the way the control on the actual amplifier does. So that means if I want to make it sound clean, I can do that. Let me re-enable the Helix plugin. All right, so right now the gain is turned up a bit. If I wanted to sound like this amp clean, I could just dial in all the parameters. If I turn the bass all the way down, that's what the real amp how it would respond. Same thing with the master volume. And then if I turn the drive back up, it's going to sound like this amp with the drive up. So with a capture, you can't really do that because you're just dealing with one snapshot. Now, in addition to that, which this is really, now we're kind of getting into like an unfair comparison. Helix is a whole ecosystem. So you have all kinds of effects, pedals, EQ, delay, distortion, dynamic, like everything. You can do everything. You have very complicated signal chains, but I deliberately didn't really bring any of that into account. I kept it very simple, one amp, one cab, and reverb to kind of do an apples to apples comparison as much as possible. So in essence, if you want to be able to have an amp model and recreate every bit that amp model could do, the real amp in real life, have complete control over it, even down to adjusting the sag and the bias and all these sort of things. Amp modeling is for you. The downside to amp modeling, if there is one, is that there are a million options. If you don't like the way this amp model sounds, you can tweak all these parameters to try to get it to sound like how you want. The upside is you have all the parameters that they have all the control to make it do what you want to do. The downside is you can spend a lot of time doing that. When you come over to something like ToneX, you don't have those options. So again, it just kind of is what it is. So you're not going to spend that time, adjusting the difference between the balance of the drive normal channel, the drive bright channel, seeing which, what sounds good, before you know it, 2 hours have gone by and you've been fiddling with one amp. Having said that, with the capture technology, because each one just sounds one way more or less, I found myself scrolling through lots and lots of different profiles and captures to find ones I liked. So in essence, even though you can't tweak to the level you can with amp modeling with capture technology, the version of tweaking there is scrolling endlessly through lots and lots of different captures. So either one can take you some time to find what you want, but they both can sound great. I think basically if you're fairly new to guitar and amps, and maybe you're not super familiar with how every part, every control that might work on an amplifier, because it's kind of slowly dawned on me. And so when I started playing guitar in 1992, like I came up, you had to do everything in the real world because there was not digital amp modeling yet. So, we were very familiar with what amps did, what pedals did, how to set up a pedal board, all that sort of stuff. And I'm realizing that a lot of newer players coming in, haven't had that type of experience. So some of the controls and tweaking you do on amp modeling that makes sense to people who have owned these amps in real life, it can be daunting a bit. So being able to come over to captures and just flip through and find the sound you like, to me, that's an advantage. To me personally, being familiar with how to dial in amps, the disadvantage for me is like finding an amp that I really like, but the capture is maybe not the way I want the amp set up or to sound. So I don't have that level of control. I'm limited to what captures are available. So that's something for me. I kind of like having all the options. Having said that, I use more or less the same preset on Helix that I've been using since I've got the thing in 2016. I've changed out the amp models a couple of times, tweaked it a little bit. But what I'm saying is, for the most part, I find an amp sound I like and I just stick with it. So while I say I would be frustrated with not being able to have all the deep parameters to edit with a capture, I mean, as long as I found a capture I really liked and built my tones and my pedals around that, I would be just fine. So either one I think can work. Again, just to kind of wrap it up, I think if you don't want to spend a lot of time, with sliders and dials and parameters trying to figure out how to get your sound, then capture technology may be a little easier to digest. If you're someone that wants basically everything available to you and complete ability to customize things, then amp modeling might fit you better, because you like the thing with let's say with a capture type device, if like myself, I don't own any amplifiers anymore. I haven't owned an amplifier in a long time because I don't need them anymore. So I can't capture my own amplifiers. I am completely dependent on other captures that people do. So, if I don't find captures I like, I don't have any captures I like. With Helix or any amp modeling device, anyone can sit down with this and everyone is an even playing field. You have all of the parameters at your control. So while let's say there's a song I'm going to learn for a gig or a band I want to cover, I can find an amp similar to what they use and just completely dial it in. Whereas with something like ToneX, I'd have to find a capture that amplifier. I don't have a way of creating that in the software. I have to find someone who's captured it. Versus amp modeling, where I can anything that's possible with the amps that are in here, I can build it. I can have complete control over it. So, I'm pretty new to using capture technology. I'm enjoying it a lot, and it's really fun to just grab and go. But it's going to take me a minute to get my head around not having all this, deep control that I have with amp modeling. So I hope that kind of sums up the difference between the two. If you're new to it and trying to figure out, which one might work for you, the coolest thing just to have some of both. You can never have too many toys, I don't think. But at the end of the day, both have very, very incredible sounds. I've found some really, really great tones with ToneX, and I'm really liking it. I've been a Helix guy since they came out. So, I mean, of course, I love Helix tones as well. So, I hope that is helpful. If you're on the fence or trying to figure out, all the buzzwords of marketing terms and what's modeling, what's capturing, all that, hopefully this will be helpful to you. Let me know in the comments below what you think, if this was helpful, or if you still have questions, or if there's something that you would like to see demoed with either one or explained with either one. Please put that in the comments, and I will do my best to get to it. As always, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. And I always appreciate you guys. Until next time, we'll see you.